Hello there! Welcome to the Godzilla Zone. My name is Lord Coucha, and I am a lifelong Godzilla fan. I've seen the movies, I've played the games, and now there's a new movie, animated, coming straight to Netflix, and I just saw it the other day, so I figured I'd give you guys a little review of what I thought about the whole thing. Specifically, this is called Godzilla Planet of Monsters, which is the first of a three-part trilogy. This first part came out in November of 2017, with the second part sometime in 2018, with the third part presumably coming out in 2019. But I just saw the first part. The introduction I mentioned is an animated movie in an anime style, all done in 3D as well. I'm just gonna go right from the visuals and aesthetics. I thought it was nice, I thought it was pleasing. I don't feel like an animated style is outside the realm of Godzilla. I feel like it's just fantasy enough to work, and there have been plenty of Godzilla comic books in the past too, so to me, a Godzilla anime, it works. So I have no problem with it. I thought, graphically, the way they did it, the way they rendered everything, it looked like an anime, but had nice photorealism to it here and there. The characters look good. Godzilla, the big one here, Godzilla looked really good. Big, mean, menacing, almost a little too dark in my opinion. Like, they made Godzilla in this version like an obsidian black, like deep black glass kind of look, like he was like a liquid metal almost. But yeah, again, I think that only helped add to his menacing demeanor, especially since his eyes, Godzilla's eyes, were not very present in this version. Some versions of Godzilla have big, eyes that are much easier to see, much brighter, maybe even glowing eyes. This version of Godzilla had like deep, naturalistic but sunken in eyes. Like when you almost any shot of Godzilla, in my opinion, you couldn't really see the whites of his eyes or his pupils. They were going for terrifying and just bad, so I think they hit the mark with that. I like this model of Godzilla. Maybe not my favorite, but it's good. Moving on to the premise of the film. First off, it's set in the future, which I believe is a first for Godzilla, at least as far as the theatrical pictures are concerned. But the beginning of the movie starts out real nice because it starts with a sense of tension and urgency and confusion, like you're just kind of thrown into a panicked situation where everyone's running away, and it's because of Godzilla. Other monsters, other kaiju did attack the world before Godzilla showed up. I think I saw Kamacuras, I could be wrong on that one. Hedorah was mentioned. There was a squid-like creature. I don't know if they mentioned it at all, but I assume that might be Gojira, which is a Toho property. One of the alien races trying to get their version of Mechagodzilla started up. Right off the get-go, they're saying, yes, there are other monsters besides Godzilla, but at this point in the story, they were all, by comparison, lower-level kaiju, and the humans were able to successfully destroy all of those until Godzilla, essentially the final boss of this monster marathon, emerges, and then the humans have no chance to take Godzilla down. They're just completely overwhelmed. So they flee the planet in search of another planet that doesn't have a Godzilla on it. This is where the premise of the movie, to me, starts to kind of... It falls apart a little bit. Not falls apart, but it's just kind of stupid. Because apparently they're traveling through space for 20 years, looking for another habitable planet to habit. The main character of this story, Captain Haruo, receives information from Metphis, which is one of the alien Planet X people, helping everyone figure out Godzilla's weak point. And this convinces everybody to go back to Godzilla to fight him. But what I kind of had a hard time suspending my disbelief over is, why did Metphis hold on to that information for about 20 years before giving it to Captain Haruo? To me, it just wasn't well explained enough. It seemed like they went on this journey into space searching for another Earth, and then 20 years later, Metphis just goes, you know what, let's leak the information and go back to Earth. I don't get that. Haruo isn't like the hero. To me, he's not a hero. He's not doing what he does to save the people, save humans, save Earth. Go to hell. He literally has a vendetta against Godzilla. Like, I want to kill Godzilla. Bastard. I'll kill you. it's almost silly because yes, you have a plan, but you're just one person against Godzilla. Like this dude makes it sound like he wants to go fisticuffs with Godzilla. Let's go back to Earth. Let's solve this Godzilla situation. You know, we think we've got it down now. Cool. Using some technology that I'm not quite sure if they've never used it before or if it's something that they weren't quite sure they had the power for, but regardless, they use some sort of warp engine to travel that 20 years worth of space over the course of what I'm presuming to be took 30 seconds. And I felt like they were really building that once they hit the button and jump to hyperspace, shit was gonna get real. Either everyone's gonna live or everyone's gonna die. That was a big moment. That was a big thing they all went for, and I feel like they kind of built that up nicely. But then once they did jump into hyperspace, it really, to me, lacked the punch that it was building up for, and felt like, a walk in the park. Long story short, they're 20,000 years in the future now. From the time they left Earth, it is now 20,000 years later. It's a really, really long time later. At that point, they're scanning the planet to see if it's even habitable, what's changed, what's the same. And, they're scanning the planet and they're going, whoa, this place is completely different. We don't even know if this place is inhabitable anymore. So what's their decision? Let's go down there. Oh yeah, that's the one. It's fine. It's still Earth. If 20,000 years had really passed, why just go straight back to Earth and call it a day? 20,000 years later, if Earth changed that much, couldn't Venus have changed that much? Or Mars? Or any other planet they passed along the way? I feel like they just settled for Earth because that's all they know. They actually get on the planet, and then they run into these flying creatures. They're kind of like mini flying Godzillas, kind of like a wyvern, legs, wings, no arm, long neck with a snapping head, obsidian black skin, just like Godzilla. I like that in terms of variety, just having different monsters for the heroes to fight, but not necessarily the same monsters we've seen over and over. These are original to this movie, and I appreciated that. It was unique, and they worked. Moving on, things aren't going well, of course. At one point, Haruo, who, by the way, was a prisoner right before joining this mission, or a disgraced captain turned prisoner, now kind of half reinstated, but on bail. Long story short, Haruo doesn't really have weight in terms of the discussion. He doesn't have responsibility in terms of what's going on. Leland is the leader of the mission. And this dude, Haruo, just backs him up to the wall and starts yelling at him. I'm like, what is going on here? Leland, just knock this guy off of you, or reprimand him, put him in cuffs. That was a moment of borderline mutiny, at least insubordination. And I mean, I could tell Leland and Haruo were friends or are friendly, but even still, I really felt like Haruo overstepped his position there. Kind of made Leland seem a little weaker than I felt he should have been. Movie's heating up a little bit. One of the battles are going on, and then, spoiler alert, Leland has to sacrifice himself to help acquire the data that the group needs to find Godzilla's weak spot. And in some movies, a character, or you have a feeling a character is going to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, but I feel like in a good movie, up until that point happens, you're never quite sure if they're going to sacrifice themselves, if they're actually going to die, or what's going to happen. You're always holding out. You never want to know what's going to happen. But, in my viewing, I felt the complete opposite with Leland. It was super highly telegraphed that Leland was telling everybody to leave so that he could take the controls and put himself into harm's way. And because he's not the main character, he's gonna die, And that's exactly what happened. I mean, yes, Leland performed a heroic act in his passing. The group would not have been successful had he not sacrificed himself. It's just that at this point in the movie, Leland's death was at least the second or third tragic death in what was up to at the point a 60-minute movie. It just doesn't hit. There's no punch, whatever, there's a lot of characters here and I don't care about any of them. They're trying to make me feel for these characters by making them die, and that's such an extreme level to take it just to make me care, and I still don't, Kind of moving on to the final battle. The final battle is cool. bordering on awesome. Just like any good Godzilla movie should be, you know, there's a lot of human dialogue bullshit you have to get through, but like that last 10-15 minute chunk of the movie, that's the money shot right there. You know, you've got to have a good kaiju battle. I mean, it wasn't monster versus monster, it was human versus monster, which I actually like. I like Godzilla versus humans as an origin story. And then eventually they patch things up, and in the sequel, Godzilla fights for the humans against other monsters. Regardless, this was Godzilla versus the people. Right after the people had figured out how to destroy Godzilla. The strategy was cool, burying him in a mountain. Not something we haven't seen before, but good application of it. And then I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna say how they do it, but it was well done. It was well explained, it made sense, you know. It was probably one of the most well fleshed out details of the movie, in my opinion, like what exactly makes Godzilla invincible and how to reverse that effect. I think they did a good job, you know, piecing together the logic for that. By the way, Godzilla, I thought his atomic breath was really cool. It wasn't your traditional fire breath or plasma breath where, you know, he blows it in a straight line at his targets. This was like an electromagnetic rail cannon. Instead of a stream of plasma, it was just a lightning bolt. Like, it was fast, it was hard. I mean, it really, that effect was cool. Every time Godzilla used his nuclear breath was awesome. I couldn't get enough of that. I wouldn't say I don't like it better or worse than the old version of Godzilla doing the fire breath, but considering this was a new take on it, I thought it was really cool. And it really felt modern. It had a really nice sense of impact, like, you know, that whip crack, that charge and crack, you know, boom. I thought it was really sharp animation. And then jump into the ending, for those who have seen, you know what I'm talking about. When the true Godzilla, the original Godzilla, reveals himself, and he is, by a wide margin, the largest Godzilla we have ever seen. I mean, this thing, you know, had 20,000 plus years to evolve, so this Godzilla makes mountains look small. So this is a big Godzilla, and you could tell he's big and slow and bulky. Also, while I'm talking about Mountain Godzilla, as I'll call him, I really like the moves they gave him. I thought they were just gonna make Mountain Godzilla do the same whip crack nuclear breath that the small one was doing. But no, when he opened his mouth, you know, he made like a supersonic frequency, like a audio frequency explosion. Like he is so strong. He has the wavelength of the plasma has accelerated so fast. This turned into just like a stream of sound. Like you don't even need to see lightning flying out of his mouth anymore. All this big Godzilla, all I need to do is talk, just roar, and everything gets destroyed. OP? Yes. Awesome? Definitely. And then the tail whip. First, I'm just glad they threw in even just one tail whip into this movie. I feel like tail whip is a staple Godzilla move. Basic Godzilla move. Kind of a stupid Godzilla move, but it's a staple Godzilla move. He's gotta slap somebody with his tail. And this version of the tail slap, tail swipe, whatever, I did not expect what they were gonna do. Because Mountain Godzilla is so humongous, when he whipped his tail, it created like a sonic blade that just sliced through everything. It was over the top, but I could see how people might have complaints about Mountain Godzilla. All I can say is I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with him, because I think they did, overall, I mean, of all the things in this movie, I think they might have done the best job with Godzilla itself, which I can't complain about. It's a Godzilla movie. I came here for Godzilla. Godzilla satisfied. That's what it's about. Yes, I felt the plot was a little weak. The dialogue in particular, but the story I thought was a little weak. I mean, it's kind of a cliffhanger, that's where it ends, but it does make me look forward to the next movie, because the battle against the normal size Godzilla in this movie was pretty epic. Or at least had some epic moments. So the battle with Mountain Godzilla is going to be just absolutely insane. I have no idea how they're gonna figure out how to beat him, but that should be interesting. If you are a Godzilla fan, I obviously recommend watching this. This is a canon entry, and it's still got 2 more movies left in it, so you've got something to follow along with for a little while. If you're a hardcore Godzilla fan like me, check it out. I'm looking forward to the next entry. See ya! So what do you guys think? Is Planet of Monsters an acceptable entry into Godzilla lore, or is it just an all-around flop? Share your thoughts in the comments to keep the discussion going. I know I'm not the only one who had a few gripes. Also, like the video, click the notifications bell, and subscribe. Thanks!